Hello and welcome to Talking Dogs on a Monday. Again, we are talking all things Boyle Sports Irish Greyhound Derby. As always, I am joined by the exiled dub Tommy Lyons from his Yall base. And as you can see, also on your screen is the man that Damien Lonigan affectionately knows as the child, Kevin Hennessy. Kevin, you're muted there. You might come back to us. Kevin, we've already spoken about the opening round or the second round at length. But again, it really did deliver on Saturday and, of course, Friday and Saturday night.
Yeah, it did, didn't it? We got off to the dream start with Coulivanny Hoffa really stamping his authority on the Derby. We all knew how good he was, but it took me a bit by surprise on Friday night. It was just a phenomenal display. I didn't think anything could go to the third bend quicker than Susie Sapphire, Pastana, New In Taylor. I just didn't think we'd see it in this Derby, and Coulivanny Hoffa did that on Friday night in the opening round, first heat. It was just incredible, and it just snowballed really from there. There was plenty of high profile casualties which did sort of blow it wide open, and looking at the third round heats, it could be a couple more big name casualties again. So we're not even halfway there, Ian. Long way to go.
Yeah, Tommy, it really did serve to keep everyone on their toes. There's no room for complacency, shall we say. Like the opening round was pretty much, clean racing. There was no big names hit the ground or no big names crashed out of the competition. That changed on Friday and Saturday night. As it gets tighter, as it gets more competitive, there's no room for error.
Oh, but a couple of names, in fairness, added themselves into it. A couple of names who might have even won heats might have, in my mind at least, kind of ruled them out of winning the Derby, even by winning heats just the way they did it, or they might have struggled to do it in the style that I would have expected. So there's a lot of stuff to talk about. It had a bit of absolutely everything. I know we should probably, you can say that most weeks, but this really had, because we did lose a good few big names. We had big names who won but maybe didn't impress. And then we had what I think from trap to third bend was perfect racing. And if you watch the dog, if you actually zoom in on the video of Coulivanny Hoffa and just watch him striding, it's almost perfection. It's just something really, really ridiculously smooth and classy about the way he did it early. And he stayed 29-13. You're not staying. Like, it's just it was a joy to watch. Of course, we'll ask questions about that and whether he can continue to do that for 4 more rounds, or does he need to do that for 4 more rounds? Maybe he doesn't. So yeah, plenty to talk about. Ian, great weekend.
Yeah, let's kick off with the aforementioned Coulivanny Hoffa. Myself and Kevin were scratching our heads before racing him, or after racing on Friday night. We were convinced that there was a run in the 70s. We couldn't convince ourselves enough that we sort of suggested, no, and that must be the best, because we looked up Pastana's run and it was 1683. The 29.99 track record breaking run, the most perfect race of all time, Pastana, and he did 1683. Coulivanny Hoffa did 1680. So we were absolutely convinced. In our minds, yet I had that nagging feeling that something had gone in the 70s. Needless to say, it wasn't too long about finding out. Went the next morning to look at my records of the last 2 years, and there was one 1679, New In Taylor. And if you remember that night, he couldn't have done anything more perfect. Off a 332, he did a 1679. Well, then Coulivanny Hoffa steps forward on Friday night and he does a 338, 1680. Tommy is already regarded as canine perfection to the third bend, Kevin. It's hard to disagree. We've already made our thoughts on this one pretty clear. It was sensational stuff.
It was. It was breathtaking. I made the comment. I was standing on the back straight. I was very happy going into the opening bend where Beach was. Now, I know he ran off it a bit, but down the back straight, I was still quite confident that he'd qualify, but he was making no impression, like literally zero impression. I couldn't really understand what was happening. I thought maybe running off the bend, he might have picked up a niggle or something, but he ran on to be third. And when the clock came up, I went, well, that sort of explains that explains it. But yeah, no, look, he's a superstar, isn't he? He looked the part as a young dog, but I'll be straight. I said it to you, Ian, off air. I didn't think he had that much early. Like we're putting this dog ahead of, I know New and Taylor has a run there better than him, but like we're putting him ahead of Susie, Pastana, those caliber dogs to the third bend. I knew he was quick to the third bend. I knew he was very good to the third bend. Didn't think he was quicker than them dogs. I really didn't. And I'd argue the track might not be as quick as it was in those years either. So it was some run.
Yeah, it was unbelievable run. Tommy Coulivanny Hoffa is now 5-1 clear favourite with Boyle Sports. You can see why. Obviously, he has a few more weeks to go, but Michael Dullivan said to Barry Call the other evening he thinks there's better to come from him. So that would suggest that he hasn't gone to the well by any stretch of the imagination. Problem is that there's no room for taking your foot off the pedal. He's got a hot heat next week. Like he's young enough and he's a good profile that he probably can keep going, and he certainly is the right man at the end of the lead.
Like he runs a brilliant racing line too in many ways. Partly helped by the fact that he's going to be in front of dogs, going to most dogs, going to the first bend anyway. But he runs a brilliant line even after that. I even think watching him try to slow it down at the start, because there was something caught my eye when I watched it live. He seemed to step out of the boxes, and what I mean by that is, I don't mean slowly, but what I mean is he actually, he wasn't anticipating the start and getting a brilliant start because he anticipated it right. He was doing it. He was watching it and watching it move. And the split second that the boxes moved, he moved with them. And I don't know if you can explain or expect even maybe a dog to be able to do that or to do it on a regular basis. But it was joyous to watch from start to finish. It was 29-13. What Kevin said there a minute ago might be right too, saying about the track maybe be a bit slower. Maybe we were talking about the mechanics at the start, because we've talked about the sections here in the past, and maybe it was a track record running to some degree or very close to it. I don't know what you think about maybe that might have been the case. Like it was.
I get the impression, like Kevin, that while it was a sensational run and the track that was going well, I don't think it's quite bouncing like it was that year. That Pistan and Ewan Taylor all were lighting up the track, and there was a number of runs in the low 29s. I think personally, I think we'll struggle to beat that 29-13 in this year's Derby. If there is the dog to do it, it's the dog that produced it himself, Coulivanny Hoffa.
Yeah, the thing it made me think about over the weekend about the Derby is, and I suppose it probably stands most years, but particularly this year, I think doing 29-30 or 29-40 might win you the Derby final, but only being able to do 29-30 or 40 won't win you the Derby. You have to be able to do something a bit special like that to go and win the Derby. On the night, it mightn't be necessary to do 29-10 or 20 or whatever.
Well, the Derby we're speaking of, let's say the one that was bouncing, was the 2020 Derby that was won by Ewan Taylor, and all the runs through the competition, and the final was won in 29-60 odd. That sums it up.
Yeah, exactly. So that's like, if you want to find a way. If you want to find a way, as somebody who's involved with other greyhounds or who might have backed different greyhounds, if you want to find a way to crab it slightly or maybe put in this faint hope that maybe you can get him beaten along the way, it's a huge run very early in the competition, and who knows what as you go on 3-4 more weeks on. But hey, you've talked about it. He's quite a fresh dog. He has very little experience over 550. And entitled to continue to improve. He obviously loves the longer run up, and it suits his style of racing, getting clear around the bend and just leaving him loose to do what he can to the third bend. So there isn't a lot to crab, to be quite honest about it. It was just brilliant. Yeah,
and Ballymac Run was second. She ran an absolute burster in second spot to probably sort of as a trailer to how the remainder of the Liam Dowling runners would run over the two nights. I think his kennel are absolutely flying at the moment, Kevin. I think you'll agree with that. And of course, the magical Beach Avenue back in third for the Healy clan. Like, how would you not love to have a dog like Beach Avenue? I think he is the most popular greyhound in training on both sides of the water, because as you said, the UK contingent love him as well. They've seen him in person around Toaster, and I think it was the trial stake win in Toaster one year that caught everybody by surprise. He came from a mile behind one of their best, and he took it. He did it in the stride. But we lost three good greyhounds here: Bocco's Leah, We Can Dream, Velasco. Three greyhounds with huge ability. Bocco's Leah has a sub 28 second run. We Can Dream, the juvenile classic winner. Derby probably came a week or two shy for him. I'd say they rushed him back for it and probably did struggle. And he turned second. Hoffa just broke his heart. And Velasco, I think all roads are leading to the juvenile Derby. I think that would always have been the case. But just a good competition, good start to the second round, and Ballymac Run and Beach Avenue chasing him home.
Yeah, look, they were brilliant in defeat. The the time said it all. And yeah, Beach Avenue picked up Highlight Arkle in that Derby Trial Stake. I couldn't really believe it myself when he did it on that night. But yeah, look, he's a great warrior. He's a dog, I'd say, because he's in my kennel, I love him. But if you're another trainer in Ireland, I don't think he'd be too high on your Christmas card list, because he just has a tendency to put some good dogs out of competitions with his running style. And yeah, look, he's into the next round.
Yeah, he is the one dog that if you're third down the back straight, you don't want to see behind you. We'll move on. We spent a little bit of extra time on that heat purely because it was such a sensational display by Coulivanny Hoffa. We won't be able to spend that much time in every heat, or else we'll be struggling to get finished before the actual third round gets underway on Saturday night. On to the second heat. Explosive Boy once again confirming his status as an absolute superstar, beating Magical Cuba and Droopy's Gravy. Tommy, Explosive Boy, away and gone. This was better from him in terms of the trapping. He's a different type of greyhound. We saw what he is this year. He really grounded out, kicked on again the closing stages to win in 29.40 from Magical Cuba, who ran on very well. Droopy's Gravy, who caught the eye one time only, unfortunately, just breaking his own heart to the third bend, couldn't get by.
Yeah, precisely. It was a great draw for Explosive Boy. With one time only tends to just move off a little bit from inside boxes slightly, and Explosive Boy just he was a little bit more polished than he was the previous week. Droopy's Gravy ran very well. One time only ran very well too, to a point. He was chasing down Explosive Boy. It's almost a fruitless task. You're not going to get by him really and truly, like that a dog of that quality. You need to beat him early if you're going to beat him. For a dog like one time only, a Coulivanny Hoffa might have that pace to kind of explode by him or something like that, but it would take something special. So Explosive Boy was very, very good. Magical Cuba, he's just not polished in the way he does things. Immense ability. Definitely, like, it was 1 in 29.40. He has 37 or something on his card, has he? I think he has, yeah. And there's probably more in him, but he's just not a polished performer yet. And whether he ever will be, I don't know. But he's got great talent. But I don't think Pat Guilfoyle will mind. You get the two of them through and you're happy enough anyway.
Yeah. Kevin, anything to add?
Yeah, no, not really. I thought it was a little bit more like the old Explosive Boy, the early pace he showed. He had sort of gone away from that a little bit, and he sort of changed his running style the older he got. He's a far more stronger dog now than he was at the early part of his career, which I think will stand him in good stead for qualifying. Like, there was a time there where if Explosive Boy was third going down the back, you'd be sort of biting your nails whether he'd hang on and qualify. That's not the case now. If he's third going down the back, if he's third down the back now, he still has a chance to win, because he saw in the Dundalk International and come from behind Sing Along Sally. So, But the early pace he showed here was a little bit more like the old Explosive Boy. You feel sorry for one time only. Tommy's right. I think if it was to win the race, he had to get by Explosive Boy with a third bend. He threw everything he could at it. He just couldn't get by him, and that cost him.
On the side there, Explosive Boy does 17.14 to the third bend. Explosive Boy off a flying start is, okay, a short head off 5 lengths behind Coulivanny Hoffa to the third bend. Just let that one sink in. Magical Cuba second. And Droopy's Gravy, who was a big price, ran a big race in third. I don't think it's a surprise to Robert Gleeson. I think this fellow is a very fast individual. It's about polishing up his starting, I'm sure. On to Heat 3, and one of the newcomers, shall we say, Callaway Pro-Am, formerly known as Bogger Bible, when he did catch the eye around Kenny and Clonmel the other night, was certainly a career best display. Bucko's Buds had hit the ground running and was there early, but Callaway Pro-Am actually outpaced him into the opening corner. And Kevin, we know that you're more than familiar with Callaway Pro-Am. We've spoken about it. Tommy, it was a display where you went, oh, hang on a second. He's more than just this strong running, nice dog that we thought he was. There's a bit of dash to him. 17.01 to the third bend. It was a hell of a run.
It was a smashing run, and it was actually quite a good race, and probably better than it might get credit for. Obviously the 5 runners were all smart dogs, but I think Bucko's Buds ran better than I thought. I was a little bit disappointed initially, but when you've got Hanover Phantom, who's a Galway track record holder, on your tail going all the way down the back and harrying you a good bit, you got Sentimental Lad in behind that, and you've got Sing Along Sally there. There isn't a lot of room for error to qualify. And if a dog like Bucko's Buds, we've talked about at length in the past, is not in front, and he hadn't mastered Callaway Pro-Am, who was impressive in the way he showed the pace into the bend to take the lead and was always comfortable in the race. So he was an impressive winner. But Bucko's Buds, I think, ran a lot better than I thought initially. to hold off Hanover Phantom and Sentimental Lad, and it was a shame to see Single Line Sally and Sentimental Lad go out of. They're two high profile.
Sentimental Lad in particular, like he gives him 6 lengths of a start, and he's beaten a short head for qualifying. You have to feel for Emer Michael Heaney. He's been such a strong running, wonderful greyhound. They haven't had any hiding places with this dog. They've had him out there. He's been racing every week, and it was just one of those things, Kevin.
Yeah, it was. It was really, really unfortunate. It wasn't the other Kobe level, but you knew after 5 strides, even though as strong as he is, he's in trouble. You can't give Derby dogs, especially in a heat like that, you couldn't give Derby dogs that sort of a start. And you talked about Beach Avenue being one of the most liked greyhounds in the Derby. Well, Sing Along Sally, she's equally as loved. And look, we didn't see the best of her in this Derby, but as you said, Ian, hopefully it's not the last we see of her. She's been a superstar throughout her career. She captures the imagination of everyone, really, and the relationship she has in particular with Emma as well. It's a special bond there. So hopefully we see her back. But Callaway Pro-Am, of all the dogs in the Derby, this would be in my top 3 or 4 for the surprise factor. Didn't think he had the area to take that first bend off Bocco's, buds it off a good start. That was very impressive.
Yeah, 17:01. It was a hell of a run to the third bend by Callaway Pro-Am, and Dennis Murphy a night later, of course, would complete a double with Owen McKenna. 2 nice dogs. Callaway Pro-Am is now 7 from 10. Certainly nothing wrong with his strike rate. Bocco's Buds had running a fine race in second. No surprise if either of them continue to go through the Derby. And Hanover Phantom is still there for Declan McDonough back in third. On to Heat 4. And here we saw Romeo Magico. And this really was the Magico show, because it just seemed a case of avoid traffic and you will win. Scooby Duchess just isn't quite firing like she was at the back end of last year. Just hasn't really happened for her this year. But Romeo Magico, charge boxes, then sort of came out a bit flat-footed, showed a bit of pace into the corner, got crowded out in the corner. But once he found the room off the second bend, he absolutely took off down the back straight. The opening round clocks would suggest he was as fast as anything down the back. Himself and Balnabola Ed, I think, were just ahead of the rest of the pack. And you can see why. He's going to have to find those trapping boots, but he has such an engine that he's always a dangerous competitor. So you don't want to be up against him, Tommy.
No, I don't know whether I'm waiting for him to explode into life and do everything right, or to get knocked out tamely, or by a mistake. I just don't know what I'm expecting with the dog, because we know what talent he has. I think Scooby Duchess ran better than it might look. She probably should have. She ran up the back of a dog the whole way around the track. She just never got a bit of a run until the last bend, where she checked inside, or slipped inside Benel Medina Roxy and got up on the line to qualify. So I think she ran actually okay. You're right, she's not at the same level as she was last year, but it was still a good run. Yeah, but Romeo Magico is one of the enjoyable dogs in the competition, that you can, because you don't know what you're going to get. If you're backing against him in a heat, you're watching him the whole way. And if you're backing him, you're probably closing your eyes and just saying, let Ian call him in front, or close, please, at the first bend. You just don't know what you're getting, but he's got immense ability. So I don't know what to expect from him, but he is a dangerous dog in the whole outright picture if he ever starts to do things right.
Yeah,
on a consistent basis.
For brute outright pace, Kevin, he's up there with the very fastest.
Yeah, I'm not surprised to see that he's in the top 1 or 2 down the back. His pace down the back is phenomenal. I think this dog is really developed. He was always a dog that looked like he'd loads of ability. I remember running into Kirby, I think, was he unraced or only had 1 or 2 races, and he'd fancy trials, and you watched him running, and if you were backing him, I think he'd been a little bit frustrating to follow. Some nights he'd miss the break, he'd find a bit of trouble here or there. But he just seems a man now, doesn't he? Like no matter what happens or whatever unfolds in a race, he just gets his head down and gets after it, doesn't he? Like the pace he showed down the back straight in the first 2 rounds has been phenomenal. He's a stronger dog this year, much stronger dog.
Yeah, much stronger greyhound, no question.
Yeah, like I at the start of his career, if he led, and if I had the likes of Priceless Jet or a Beach Avenue within touching distance of him, you'd be happy enough that you'd pick him up. I don't think you'd pick him up off the second bend now. This lad, like, it'd be some race if he could go up to the bend close enough or near enough to Hoffa, like, if he was within striking distance of Hoffa, within a length or so off the second bend, that would be some buckle to the third bend now.
Yeah, no question about it. He was a 78, 79 pounder last year. He's now an 81. He's trialed at 82 in a couple of recent times. So you'd imagine that's another 2 or 3 pounds of muscle rather than he's just probably matured in himself. No question, he's a very fast dog. Cushy Concord ran well in second spot to be Duchess third, but I think in terms of a potential Derby winner, the only one is Romeo Magical from that heat. On to heat 5, and this went to Mustang Jet, but this was an absolutely, this was a real nail biter. Went right to the line. He had to win the race twice. He had to see off Kilgraney Sydney, who arguably ran one of his best ever races, and heartbreaking to see him going out in the manner that he did. Crafty Kokoro stopped in her tracks at the third bend, got going again. She's just so strong, so powerful, and she's absolutely flying at present. Obviously there will be nights where that gap won't come, or she'll have 3 or 4 strong runners in front of her. She might just struggle to pick them up, but I'll tell you one thing, she's going to be hard to keep out of the frame. And Droopy's Rocker, who certainly went up my estimation down the other evening, because he held Crafty Kokoro down at the third bend. He really flew. Maybe he lacks a yard early, but I can tell you what, he's very, very strong, Tommy. You would have seen him down in the Dennis Linhan Solicitors. But Mustang Jet, while he did win and justify warm favoritism, stock didn't rise.
I think that's a perfectly fair account of it. He's one of the dogs that I had in my head that before the race it could win a Derby. He possibly still can, but I would be less inclined to lean towards him now at this stage after that run. I just thought it was too much hard work. And it's not to say he can't come out and do something polished next week, but Crafty Kokoro was undoubtedly very unlucky. She got stopped badly, lost a nice few lengths between the third and fourth bends, and still flew home beating. What was she beating ahead? Droopy's Rocker, as you say, ran a cracker and quite an inexperienced dog. It was a good heat. It wasn't a heat like the sing along Sally heat or whatever.
Even the Kilgraney dog, he has a 27.94 trial at Shelbourne Park. We've seen what he's capable of. Like Declan O'Donoghue, who I'd say was in mourning for the weekend after this dog went out of the competition because he's his biggest fan, and he did run an absolute booler. And I suppose you can nearly crab Mustang Jet because he didn't get away on the field and whatnot. But you got to remember there was Kilgraney Sydney challenging him, and that's.
Yeah, but when I'm thinking about winning the Derby, you say if you're looking to find a dog you think that can win a Derby, you're replacing the dogs that are inside it and saying, if that was Kulavani Hoffa, if that was Explosive Boy, if that was something else, what would happen to him at the first bend? So if he's going to win a Derby, he needs that sort of heat. He needs to clear them quite comfortably because that's his strongest point of the race, if you ask me, going in and around that opening bend and trying to get clear. So I wouldn't rule him out. That'll be ridiculous, but I would just say I need to look at him again next week to see if. But I just have a few more doubts than I had beforehand because I think he's a seriously fast dog. But I just wonder, can he do enough to win a Derby after that performance?
Kevin, your thoughts on it?
Yeah, look, similar to what you've touched on. If it was a graded race now, you'd be very happy if you were the grader, like a head, a neck, and a head. Like the first 5 of them, a length covered them. So it was a blanket finish. I was similar. I felt desperately sorry for Thomas Buggy and all the buggies with Kilgraney Sydney. He was there on the fringes the whole way, and he just had 2 big power pack finishers in Kokoro and Rocker behind him off the last spin, and unfortunately did get run out. I still don't think we've seen the best of Sydney. I think he's a dog that in the Ledger now, we're in the Laurels at the end of the year. He's starting to come back on the right track. His runs in Limerick as a younger dog were phenomenal. He's on the right track. If Thomas gets that lad going at full metal by the end of the year, he could be a factor in those competitions. But take nothing away from Crafty Kokoro. The one thing I said to you, Ian, is she did turn pretty close by her standards. I know she got cut off at the third bend. I think they'd sort of balance themselves out that she was in a great position after second bend. I thought she'd win after second bend. She would have won if she got through at the third bend. That's how good she is. She's going to be very hard to keep out of competition. And Mustang Jet, we've said it on our reviews after race, and we know Dolores is very sweet on him. Look, 29.72 is probably not fast enough, but don't be surprised if that took a jump to 29.40 or 50 in the coming weeks.
Yeah, the 17.14, I suppose that's even with bother from Kilgraney Sydney. So if he improves on that, he's still doing the sort of low 17s. That's still very, very good running. And his tendency just to edge in on the corner is a problem, especially if he has the likes of a Kulavani Hoffa or Ballinabool or someone up his inside. He could be struggling on that bend to get around in front. On to Heat 6, where Macho Pride was a good winner for Kieran Lynch. He was available at a decent price. I was fully convinced that he was the one that was wrongly priced in the contest, and thankfully had a little nibble. Droopy's nice one. She just didn't quite get away to the way she can. She just throws in one like this every now and again. We spoke about it the other night, Kevin. She swung wide and then came back in, but I suppose she was nearly forced to do it by Macho Pride. But listen, let's take nothing away from the Macho Pride, because he got bothered early. And he still charged his way to the front, and he was a classy performer in his day. Like, he has a 29.56 on this card at Shelbourne Park, and the other night, Tommy, he showed that that ability is still there, and Kieran Lynch has him singing a sweet tune at present.
Yeah, he is smart form in Cork, 28, 32s and 42s, few that sort of figure, that sort of mark. What I liked about him was that he probably shouldn't have led, because he missed it slightly and got a bit of bumping and had to actually work exceptionally hard. And that's why I think I'd be disappointed with Drewby's nice one. And even Kilica Phelps to a small degree, because I was giving that a chance. I know it's probably one of the worst breakers in the country, but has a load of ability. Kilica Phelps, dog that does 370s for fun, like when the 330s being done. But Drewby's nice one. I thought, because Macho Pride had worked so hard to get to the front, I thought he definitely has to be vulnerable late on, and he dug deep. It was a nice for Kieran Lynch connections, a nice performance. Drewby's nice one. What I would say about her, it's a bit like what you said about what she did during the race. She was just never fluently in stride, if you know what I mean. Just never really just motoring in one direction, kind of. It just never felt like she was on top of her game. She's better than that, though. She's better than that. She's not going to win a Derby on that evidence, but she's better than that and can maybe qualify a little bit further.
Kevin, good winner. Drewby's nice one. She's definitely capable of much better, but she's going to have to show it, because this Derby is going to get very hot very quick.
Yeah, I still wouldn't like her drawing in with me now. I think she's as good a bitch as there is in the country on ability wise. I think I do hold her in that high level. And I think Tommy was fairly right there. She never really got going. She never hit full stride. And I think coming around the bottom two bends, I think she knew that she had it in the bag. I just don't think she thought Macho Pride was going to run as wide as he did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he definitely did take her ground. He forced her to check inwards, which cost her defeat. Kilica Phelps, yeah, Tommy's right in what he says. This lad, with all the dogs we've had and the running styles we've had over the last 2 years, I'm just surprised he's not in our kennel, because he's a slow starter who just comes out with the clouds like everything else that we have at the moment. So, yeah, but look, I know that Dowlan's picked this lad up after his first or second race below in Tralee, and we're very keen on him, and he's loads of ability. Very frustrating at boxes, though.
Yeah, he's a fast greyhound, no question about it. But no, well done to Macho Pride and his connections. On to Heat 7, and this went to Bocco's Crystal. This was a muddling type affair, but she showed the best early dash in the middle of the track. She got around in front, and thereafter it was always in the bag. The inside trio never really got going. It was always about the outside three. Bocco's Crystal got the run up inside. Iso Fantastic. Price's Jet emerged in second. You knew at the third bend, Tommy and myself have been talking about him and his exploits at trying to pass dogs at the third bend. If he doesn't have the inside line, the outside doesn't work for him, because while he does try to go round, he does tend to edge in. I think his left legs are probably just a fraction shorter than his right legs. I think he is a wide seed now, which is something we couldn't agree on for a long, long time, but he definitely wants to pass on the inside of the third bend. And when he didn't get by the bitch, we know how strong she is, and she held on gallantly to win in 29.65, Kevin.
Yeah, look, he put in a massive run now in the opening round. It was his first run back from England when you know the father very well. He didn't do a whole lot between England and the Irish Derby. He ran better than was expected, but obviously it would have took it out of him. So he had an easy week again this week, no real choice. From a different point of view, I knew if he didn't clear the third bend, I knew if he didn't clear or at the third bend, he wasn't going to kick again up the home straight. He couldn't have, because he'd been pretty much on his bench during the week.
He never tends to anyway. He tends to be a dog that winds it up from halfway and just keeps going at a nice solid pace.
Yeah, no, he does. And I was over the moon with this run. I thought, look, if he'd have got by the bitch or joined her or been able to hold her around the bottom two bends, it could have been a race. He'd tried to battle again, but I knew when she was a length clear of around the bottom two bends, and take nothing away from her. This bitch has been putting some fancy runs on her card and been doing very little wrong lately. She's a bitch that I think is a bit better than what I thought at the start of her career. She's going from strength to strength, and we talk about confidence, especially in bitches. Once they get on a roll, don't be surprised this one takes another couple of lengths off her clock going forward. Like, it's no mean feat to hold Price's Jet all the same from the third bend. So, very impressive with the winner. Very happy with the runner-up, and Iso Fantastic. But this came out to the lids in the opening round, and he qualifies again at a big price, and we keep on talking about the connections now how to get one to the final.
Yeah, mean a miracle a couple of years back. Tommy Bacchus Crystal, good winner. Price is Jet, happy to be there, and he's a fantastic third.
Yeah, it was actually a cracking race to watch because Price of Jet really put it up to Bacchus Crystal. Bacchus Crystal is another one out. The Dennis Linehan was runner up in the Dennis Linehan Solicitors Run race in Cork, behind Drubby's Rocker. I thought Drubby's Edson just hasn't been firing.
Yeah, he probably needed a few weeks.
Time.
He was just a dog that probably wasn't ready. No question about it.
Yeah, and you know what? When I looked at the heat initially last week, I was talking to one of the lads about this heat, and I said I thought Drubby's Edson had a super draw. And then I looked more into it, and I gone, he's just not running well enough to get involved. And he was 5-2 favourite, I think, in the early stages. He did actually go off favourite 9-4. Just wasn't showing enough. So Bacchus Crystal was a little bit disappointing, or not disappointing, a little bit things just didn't go right in the first round in some ways. But that was a nice performance, and Price of Jet really did put up to her. So it was actually a cracking race to watch. But they will need to improve on 29.65 to kind of.
I think both will improve in the 29.65. Yeah. Bacchus Crystal did 29.47 the night the track wasn't flying. So, holding Raha Mofo by a length that night. On to Heat 8, Stefan's Rock was a good winner for Shay Campbell. We sadly lost Good Cody in this contest, as I was fearing ahead of racing. The fact that he's not a flying starter, and the fact that Galloping Sydney was going to be edging inwards, and Stefan's Rock and Skywalker Babby have the pace of the inside. He just found himself in a crowd of dogs. I'd say he clipped heels or something and just took a tumble. He was up straight away. Dog was absolutely bouncing fine afterwards. But Stefan's Rock, a good winner again for Shay Campbell. He's just a nice, solid running greyhound, Kevin. He always showed loads of pace down in Enniscorthy in his races in Shelbourne. Trapping has been his Achilles heel, but he got away with it again the other night.
Yeah. Did he show loads as a young dog in my book? I thought I'd be straight, and I told Shay this. I thought he was a reasonably nice dog, but Shay kept saying to me, "You haven't seen him trap. Yeah. Like this lad has fancy runs done in Dundalk for the 400. He's not trapped at all. He really hasn't started." And he said, "Kevin, if this lad starts, I think he's better than the Rocket last year." Now, I didn't think he was within 3 or 4 lengths of Rocket. That's being straight now. I didn't have him that high. In the first round, he trapped reasonably well. He won it. He trapped well here. He done nothing wrong. Galloping Sydney edging in on top of Good Cody. And you're right. It appeared on the video that Galloping Sydney just cut across Good Cody. He clipped the back of his heels, and that was the Derby over with. But Stefan's Rock, this dog has plenty of boot. This was the last heat on the night, and we know Ian from being up there. If the fancy runs are going to happen, they have to come in the first or second heat, you would imagine, because the later the card goes on, it gets colder and stuff like that. So I think this is a better run than the time would suggest. If I have Skywalker Barry back, I'm not sure many people have. He just hasn't seemed to be in the force of old. I was much, much happier with this dog in this race. He showed a bit more of a spark to me to the corner. Now, whether that was exaggerated because of the trouble that was happening between 3 and 4, I don't know. But he did show a little bit more to the corner. It was a step more in the right direction. He obviously has to improve significantly still, but he could well do. And a word for Good Cody, I met the Kennedys walking across the track, and you'd swear they won the Derby. And that was after getting knocked out with the favourite. They're good greyhound people, and they knew the more important thing was Cody getting up and running around, and they know that they'll be back to fight another day at the Ledger, the Laurels, or Night of Stars, whichever comes. So, a nice surprising winner, but a dog going in the right direction.
Yeah. Tommy, anything to add?
No, not that to that. Ian Skywalker Barry probably he's been around a good while, and he's kept his form. He's brought back to his best form in the past. It's probably now at this stage it's going to be difficult to get him to the peak of his powers. But Stefan's Rock, take nothing away from him. It was a nice run. Good Cody was unfortunately the talking point. It's a shame, but as Kevin said, the most important thing is he's all right.
Yeah, he is all right. On to Heat 9. Saturday's action kicked off with a bang. Born Warrior. I thought, and I had mentioned a couple of places, I thought if he didn't hit the lids, he'd be the one that would struggle. And as it was, he was the one that hit the lids and didn't struggle. He just showed all his early speed. Great dash into that third bend. He's an exceptionally fast greyhound. But adding the trapping ability will be the key to him. And the other night he was sharp. He went to the front early, and once doing so, he was always going to be pressed by Mary's Wedding late. But you always got the impression he was going to hold her. Kildare 2 in a row, and Hello Hammond went out, and behind them Mary's Wedding ran a Buller in second, and Barefoot Supremo. Well, Kevin, we spoke briefly the other evening before we went on air. What he did down the back straight, this is 2 in a row, and Kildare's passing down the back straight. You must have been more than happy. But Born Warrior will start with, because he's now won 10 of his 14 starts. He's just a proper racing greyhound.
Yeah, I love him. Willie Hanlon, a good friend of mine, bought into this dog And I remember when he did, I was telling him, you have a real Derby contender. They weren't sure at the time whether he'd stay at 550. I said, you'll stay at no problem when the Derby's on. BoyleSports Extra was an out-and-out 5 to 5 yard dog. When the Derby came round, he saw the 550 out, no problem. This lad is very similar. I'm mad about this dog. He's starting, yes, he maybe not the most fluent and consistent pinger from a box, but he's not the worst either. And
he's unbelievable acceleration though. It gets away with it most
phenomenal
times.
To the third corner. And given he's going to be such a wide seed, stay out of trouble. He just struck me very early on before the Derby started as a dog that, unless something went wrong, was going to be there at the quarterfinal, semi-final stage, given that he's going to be in 6 most nights. He's got 17 seconds consistently to the third bend. Everything you would want in the profile, a young dog coming forward in the right hands. He just ticked so many boxes for me. Marie's Wedding really went up in my estimations in this race. She was, for me, one that I thought might struggle in this contest. She didn't. She looked like she fit in at this level. She was dominant. Things didn't go her way in the opening round, but a much better display here. And yeah, Supremo, I was over the moon with him. To pass 2 in a row from being a length or a length and a half off him before the second bend to clear him at the third bend, it took some running now. And to be only beaten a length and 3/4, given the trouble he encountered at the opening bend, I was over the moon with him. The thing the most, if he'd have been beaten 8 lengths and qualified, the fact he trapped was more important to me than anything else, because I don't know how many races he's ran. That's the first time I've ever seen him anticipate the start. I just hope he continues to do so now.
Yeah, Tommy, anything to add?
I actually backed Marie's Wedding just because of the price, and one of the shrewd lads said to me, he says, "Is she good enough?" And I said, "Well, I'm not sure, but I think the draw is brilliant." And she ran her heart out, but she just wasn't good enough, and that's the long, the short of it. But then there's a small bit of an X factor about Born Warrior that a lot of the greyhounds that are left in the Derby might not have. In the sense that there's an explosiveness about his style of running. I think which is good. It's like, I think it's what you say is probably the right thing. The acceleration into the bend is deeply impressive. Kildare had a horrible draw, but it didn't make any difference. Just a flat run.
Yeah, it was a flat run. Yeah,
just a flat run. 2 in a row. I'd say they've been working really hard to get him fully right, and it just never quite got there through the year. There were some really good runs because he's got immense talent, but it was just never consistently there. If you know what I mean, it always felt like they were struggling to get him to 100%, like which you need to be to win a Derby. Barefoot Supremo ran a cracking race, but Born Warrior, just that bit of an X factor about him. He has that ability to do something a little bit extra. Declan O'Donoghue, who you mentioned him a while ago, I think he's been a big fan of him for quite some time.
if Born Warrior had gone out, we mightn't have seen Declan back at Shelbourne Park for the Derby this year.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, we'll move on because we have a lot of ground to cover still. Heat 10, all about Ted. I thought I don't finished is the wrong term. I just didn't think he'd ever be the dog he was last year. He improved again, nearly 2 lengths from last week's run, 17.28 to the third bend. He's not exactly flying, but another good run out front, Kevin. And Peter deserves a lot of credit. He was struggling with this dog, it seemed, this year, but no, he's back to winning ways now. And obviously things will get very much tougher in the coming weeks, but he's still there pitching. And if he can find another couple of lengths, you never know.
Yeah, no, like he's doing 29.60. But again, he's a wide seed with reasonably good early pace. If there's trouble on the inside, we know he stays the 5.75 well. Look, I don't think he's the force of old. The force of old could have won a Derby or 2. So that's how good he was. Like, it's not like we're talking about him being at this level. Like he was a 29.30 dog out of 5.50, sub 31 seconds for the 5.75. That's how good he was at his very, very best. So yeah, look, a tale of 2 stories, I suppose, with the top 2, a dog maybe on the decline, but in Stories Cash Out, I think this is a dog really, really on the incline. I know it hasn't gone right for him in the Derby. I know he's gone a couple of races now without getting his head across the line in front. I think this time next year we'll be really talking about this dog at the top end of the Derby picture. He doesn't look a greyhound even yet. He hasn't fully coated. He looks a pup, looks very raw. He's on my notebook going forward. I think this dog has an immense talent. I think Murty Lahi has another dog to really look forward to over the next year or 18 months. And Patient Crusader, only another 2.5 lengths back in third. Look, will probably be a big price again next week, but it keeps the name in the hat.
Yeah, all about Ted, Tommy. Good winner. Stories Cash Out is definitely improving. No question about that. It was only his 9th start. He's November 20. So anything he does now really is a bonus in the Derby. A Patient Crusader from a very fast family. He ran well to qualify in third.
Yeah, not a lot else to say. It was a good opportunity for All About Ted to follow up. It really was. I mean, if you're going to handpick a heat, it probably was something you wanted, because Story's cash out hasn't yet figured out how to trap consistently. Like Kevin said, that's one you want to keep an eye on in the future. Just not doing things exactly right, but that was a step in the right direction. So, yeah, it's probably no Derby winner, not this year anyway, out of that heat.
Okay, he's 11. Vincenzo is a potential Derby winner. I'm going to say it was a touch more workmanlike than I was hoping for or expecting. I backed him during the week because I thought he'd be long odds on in this contest. And I thought it would have been no surprise to me if he'd done the 29.15 run. You know, as it was, he went to the corner alongside Drewby's next one. Neither of them flew out, but they were neck and neck into the bend. They took a bump, but Vincenzo recovered quickly, showed great pace to go to the front. Drewby's next one came at him into the third bend. He stays on really strongly, Vincenzo, holds her off by a length. That's no mean feat, because we saw how strong, how fast she has been over the last 2 to 3 months. Her run last week was pretty much one of the eye-catching runs of the round. Ring a Bella Boy ran a big race at a big price in third spot. I think Pat Guilfoyle will be more than happy with Vincenzo. I have a feeling that he's letting this fella creep through the Derby a little bit. I don't think he went to the well last week, shall we say, and I think there's better to come from him. Tommy.
Yeah, I would hope so. As somebody who has backed him long odds, I would hope there's better to come, because his 2 runs to date haven't been very polished. Now, I did love the way when he got the bump at the first bend that he accelerated off it, you know, because he has got Drewby's next one, who's a really strong stayer, and he did hold it all the way to the escape. I think he's a extremely strong stayer, Vincenzo. I can't figure out, watching it, that it's a 355. It looked a bit better than that. It's a 17.
I suppose they looked like they were probably doing 340s and you know, 17.15.
And it's 17.20 something down to the third bend, was it?
Yeah, 17.28, 17.26. Excuse me.
Like that's nearly walking down relative to Fanny Hoffa. Like, you might as well be in a different race. So,
yeah, he's only just like the 7.5 lengths off Fanny Hoffa.
Yeah, it's not too bad. Yeah, I'd probably pick him up from there. But you have to say, look, I have to try and find the positives because I backed him. But like he was off for a good while, and he has better on his card, which is always nice to know. And I think he did those better times when the track wasn't, you know, on fire, maybe, you know, like it will be over the coming weeks, you'd imagine. So he did those. Is it 29.27? Is it? I think it's on his card. So there is the hope. Like you said, I had been hoping for maybe a 29.30, 29, just sneak into the 29.20s, and I would have thought that's lovely progress towards a dog that might win a Derby. So even though it's 29.45, which is a very good run, we're kind of looking at it going, yeah, I think it could have been slightly better, because the draw was perfect. He had to be a 2 to 5 chance. I mean, he had to be very short. So effectively, it was something of a solo. It should have been something of a solo. Drewby's next one made sure it wasn't, but it should have been for Vincenzo. And I don't mind the fact there was a nice bit of money for the runner-up before the off. I don't mind the fact that it was a bit of a race for Vincenzo, but I would like to see maybe go 2-3 lengths quicker.
Yeah, Kevin?
Yeah, look, we were sort of similar to Tommy, a little bit nitpicky, I suppose, at this lad on the review the other night, but that is because we're holding him to such a high standard. But when you take into factors, it depends which half of the race for me you look at. If you look at the first half of the race, yeah, you could understand being slightly disappointed he wasn't further clear next one. But if you were to say half down the back straight, that next one was going to be as close as she was to him, and he was still going to hold her convincingly by a length, I'd be very, very happy, because she is very strong. There's not many dogs in this Derby that would hold her when she's that close, all the way to the line, and as Tommy said, all the way to the escape. If those sections are right, I'm over the moon, because we know Vincenzo can go to the third bend an awful lot quicker than that. And he's coming home at some rattle doing 17.20 odd to the third bend and still clocking 29.45. So my bigger concern, or the only concern I have for him, is just how wide he tends to run at the opening bend. That would be for me a little bit of a, you know, Beach Avenue does that so many nights and throws away a length or two. And in this, you can get away with it now. And you'll get away with it maybe even in the third round. But I've seen Beach get to Easter Cup, Champions Stakes, finals, all these finals, and every night at the first or second bend, he throws them away because he runs so wide. We all know the 600. That would be my only concern if I was a Vincenzo supporter. I'd have no concerns. I don't think there's, including Hoffa, I think this dog has similar ability to a Vanny Hoffa or a Ballinabula Ed. the only difference is I don't think those dogs will give away as much ground on the opening bend potentially. So
yeah. Tommy Ringabella boy, I get the impression he'd run a couple of races down in Greyhound Park in fine style coming off the pace. I get the impression he's a Shelbourne Park type greyhound. Looking at his size and his makeup, he's plenty of gears.
Yeah, and the style of racing and everything, that he's going to need a big gallop and track and plenty of space, because he doesn't tend to do it right early. I mean, it's all about stamina. It was a cracking run because we've talked about it. The two in front are proper stayers, and to get to within 3 lengths of the runner up was a fair effort.
Yeah, it was a fair effort. On to Heat 12, and this was a race where the stock of the first 2 homes certainly rose up. Tommy looks like a man, the back Crypto Punk, who led for 549 yards. Stories Pee-wee coming from out of the clouds, as he does, to land the spoils in 29.54. It was actually one of the better heat times on the night, but both Crypto Punk and Stories Pee-wee, the winner, both absolutely, really did, put it out there. Brilliant runs by first and second. Kilgraney Clang actually caught my eye once again in third. Just hasn't quite happened for him. There's plenty of ability, and he ran well in third. We'll just leave Tommy to stew there for a second, Kevin, but a very impressive run by the winner and the second.
Yeah, look, you were bragging on the reviews about every big priced winner that you had backed and picked through the opening 2 rounds. This was the one I didn't have a bet in the opening 2 rounds, but I am part of the Kilkenny Greyhound Tipster competition, which wasn't going great, but I stuck my colours to Pee-wee because he's dug me out a couple of times. So this is the only big price selection winner that I could find. So unfortunate for Tommy, but yeah, the stocks of the first 3 here really rose, didn't they? Stories Pee-wee, he just never runs a bad race for Murty. I don't know whether he ever reached the heights in the UK that he had reached here. I watched him in the Maiden Derby, ran well. I think he made the final of it, but just never really looked like I think he just likes the Kilkenny air, I think, because since he's come back to Murty's again, he looks
he doesn't mind the Dublin air either, I can tell you.
well, Kilkenny hurlers don't tend to mind Croke Park air either. But no, look, he ran really, really well. But I will say the runner-up ran better than I thought. I like the runner-up was away and gone, head down, and I took the whole way, like off the halfway down the back straight. I thought the race was over. Like I really did. I said, Pee-wee's way too close. He'll pick this up easy. Crossing the line, I thought the one dog had held on. So
did I. I think I said it in commentary too.
Yeah, well, I did now, and I was right at the line. I was quite certain one had held on. Kilgraney Clang just keeps on sneaking under the radar. Thomas Buggy does this year on year with a dog. Clang is the one this year. A little bit disappointed, I suppose. Rahamofo and Ross Damore that they went out. It just never really happened for Rahamofo in the Derby.
I think I said it the other evening. I think a switch back to Bitch Company will suit her. I just think she's just not quite happy at the moment.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair assessment. I think a little break now, and we didn't see the best of her in this Derby. But I'll let Tommy now drown his sorrows now.
Well, like you, Kevin, I knew I was in trouble down the back. But he just gave me hope all the way to the line. And then the commentator, Kevin, to say, yeah, Crypto Punk has won. I'm going, lovely. I mean, I'm 150 miles south, and I'm doubting it. He's about 10 meters from the finishing line.
I'll tell you what, have you seen? It's a long 10 meters. Anyway, listen, we'll move on because Tommy's only going to give me more grief. On to Heat 13, a certain Ballinabola Ed. And while he set the standard on Saturday night, a few people are sort of scratching their heads a little bit. He leads Gord Kelly Nestor, and you think he's going to win by 6 or 8. In the end, he does 29-27, but only wins by the 2. At the third bend, I get a moment where I went, uh-oh.
Yeah,
the wheels are coming off here, but then he kicked again. And is he just keeping a little bit for himself out front? Is he just sort of going, no, do you know what? I've done enough now tonight. Let's move on to the next round. I don't know, but all I know is he is unlimited ability. He quickened up into the corner. He left good dogs standing to that point and took it up and went down to win. If you just look at the bare facts, he goes 17:02. He wins in 29-27. Yeah, he's deserving the second favourite to win the Derby. He's an absolute machine, no question about it. But I think there's better to come from him, believe it or not. Kevin.
Yeah, if he'd have done 29-40 or 50, I'd say, yeah, okay, maybe. There's no way he was easing off 29-27, especially in the 5th or 6th race. If it was like I said, I think if a dog is going to do a fancy run in this Derby, just the last couple of nights, we've been there, Ian, it's in the 1st or 2nd race. It doesn't belong about
it drops. It's 5 or 6 degrees between the first and the 6th or 7th race, no question.
And we're talking about races. Sometimes there's like 15, 16, maybe even 18 minutes between some of the races. So it's not like before where it was a 12-minute gap and the race were coming bang, 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 bang. So the 5th race,
there was a 20-minute gap before this race, which honest to God feels like an eternity.
Yeah, it does. It does. It's far too long.
Yeah.
But no, Ballinabulla Ed, I think. Same as you. I thought between the bottom 2 bends for one stride, I went, like Gore Kelly's coming again. And I think it was a feather in the cap of the runner-up as much as anything. I think the runner-up ran like he did run last year. It didn't happen from in the first round, but he stepped up on everything he'd done. And we spoke about the Limerick Trial Stake form. Like, he beat Tullygraven 5 or 6 lengths in the Trial Stake. That form backed up again. It was a huge run by the winner, a huge run by the runner-up. I think the third, Tullygraven, we saw in the opening round with a flash of what this lad will do. I think we won't see the best of this lad next year, but he's very, very fast.
He learned very early the other evening that he was in deeper waters than a week earlier, shall we say.
Exactly, yeah. But I think the winner was doing everything he could. The clock said that.
Yeah, Tommy.
Yeah, like Gert Kelly-Ness was a length away from qualifying for a Derby final last year. And this is how close he was to it. I do think the Ballinabulla Ed, like if he was in school, he'd be top of the class. Like, there's brains to burn. Maybe he thinks a little bit too much, but you just can't doubt the ability. He's just immensely talented. I think he did 29-27 in his sleep. I think he did it. He did it without having to find the afterburners. Tullygraven had clocked very well in a lot of sections around the track in the previous round, and obviously with a dog that does a track record on debut is obviously ridiculously talented too. Like you said, Dean, he just figured out very quickly that this is a bit tougher, but he's still a dangerous dog in the Derby, in the sense that certainly next week in a heat, he's dangerous because he still has that ability. He might have learned quite a bit from that the other night. So
of course,
it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see what the reaction is like. And I know that sounds a bit silly to be talking that way, but it'll just be interesting to see. Does he think, oh my God, like these 2 dogs are miles ahead of me, or I was chasing nothing there last week, and does he bust himself to get out in front and do something like he did in the previous round? So obviously it's going to be hard because the competition is so hot now, but he's got real ability. I'd be very interested to see what he does for the rest of the year, not just the Derby, but beyond that, and see how he develops.
Yeah, no problem about that. He's in hot, like, and they're all in hot. Yeah. Like, that's the way the Derby is from now. But fine displays. I think you're right. I think while Coulivan Hoffa did the 29-13, I think he may well beat it, but I think Ballinabulla Ed is the one dog you could say, if something's going to do 29 seconds, is probably him, and might look fairly effortless in doing it. That's the thing about him. He's so fast. On to Heat 14. Here, Anna Bailey, he came in for floods of support in the opening round. They clearly think a lot of him. He did 29.64 the other night. That's leading into the corner, getting pushed out, losing 2 or 3 lengths, and coming back to lead again at the third bend before winning, as I said, in 29.64, 17.33. That could have easily been a 17.14, 17.10, and 29.47. You know what I mean? I think it was a really nice display from a very fast young dog, and obviously another Droopy Sydney. I haven't touched upon it yet in this year's Derby, but they're just everywhere, Tommy. Everywhere.
Yeah, we'll be talking about it for a while. They're everywhere is right. Anna Bailey was, I suppose, if you backed Anna Bailey the previous round, you were probably a little bit sore. The middle seed is a little bit of a question, because she definitely wants inside at the opening bend, definitely wanted the inside again around the third and fourth bends, even though moved middle down the back. So that's a small bit of a concern. But as you said, talented and improving. And I hope that those who backed it in the first round got their money back.
Yeah, I think they might have done. He came in for good support again. Oh, it was 6-1. Gee, that seemed a big price. Bobsleigh Dream was the favourite, Kevin. She never really got a chance to run. Everywhere she went, there was just a problem. There was someone, she might have just looked after herself a fraction on the opening corner, but she was probably right to do so. She was going to be the meat and the sandwich. But then after that, when she started to get going, everywhere she went, there was a bit of a buffer, someone just to stop her from getting into full stride. But Anna Bailey, a fine winner. Oakfront Cadet came out of the clouds to grab second. He's a really strong running greyhound. He improved considerably from his opening round effort. He may have come into the Derby needing a run or two. And at Lacazette, you're the chairman of the fan club, Kevin. He ran well in third.
Yeah, he doesn't win all that often, but his card isn't a true story. Like, he runs in if you enter at the Lacazette in years gone by on a Saturday night, he always ended up in the best race. He always just ended up being in the race that was one of the best time against the best dogs, and he never ran a bad race.
And that's the reason he ended up in those races. He was nearly too honest for his own good at times.
Exactly, yeah. Like he never gave himself an opportunity to sort of go back in grades, but he always mixes it. Look, his better days are probably a little bit behind him now, but he just finds a way to be in the first three, and a real likeable sort. But yeah, the winner done nothing wrong. Not a dog I knew a whole pile about before this Derby, but I'm learning more and more. And I think I love his attitude. I think he's got a really gutsy attitude, and he's not afraid to get, throw his weight around if he needs it, and he can ride
he'll get down and dirty, shall we say?
Yeah, exactly. He's not afraid to do this. So bobsled dream, frustrating. Yeah, like it just didn't happen for. I remember Ian, you saying to me off air about Supremo last week. That put him in a worser heat, let's say, and he can find trouble or slower dogs get in his way. And it looked like that for her. It just looked like she was moving at a different speed at all parts of the race than the rest of them around her. And it just seemed to get in her way. She eased going into the first bend. She takes off down the back, looks still like she could win, gets more trouble, checks off the last bend. It was just a complete, anything could go wrong, did go wrong.
Yeah. On to Heat 15. And this is I'm sure, Tommy, you were alluding to this fellow when we were speaking at the top of the show. Ballymac Finn literally said to the world, don't forget about me, lads. I'm a Derby contender. Obviously, bred in the purple, a son of Droopy Sydney. I think that Droopy Sydney has a bright future. Ballymac Petsy is obviously is she a sister to Pastana or a half sister to Pastana? She had a Coulivanny pet. He's November 20. He's won now 5 of 12. But I think his ratio is going to go up. This was just brilliant, Tommy.
This was brilliant, and because I don't know what the section was down to third bend, you might have it there, but the 344
1701.
Yeah, the 344 is pretty smart too, and like I know Hoodoo Brown showed immense ability as usual. Come from maybe 8 or 9 lengths off the pace at halfway to be beaten just 3 lengths, but like there was no way you're getting to Ballymac Finn. He tightened up a bit where he needed to tighten up early, and probably needs to tighten up a bit more to win a Derby realistically. But like 29.36 from a young dog and so inexperienced, geez, it was a super effort.
Yeah, if you took go ahead.
The trap scene, interesting though. Like he had been running. He's an inside seed and always has been, but he's been running from 3-4, 3-3-4 back to 1 and just a polished display. So maybe it's just that. Maybe he just does like that inside, the real inside.
Yeah, he's so polished the other evening, Kevin. This was over after a stride.
Yeah, it was. It took me by surprise, like how impressive this was. I thought in a 5-dog race, if you said to me before the race, how far will Hoodoo Brown, if you were doing distance betting, I didn't think any of the other 4 dogs could hold Hoodoo Brown to a length. Now, I didn't know whether he'd get there, but I definitely didn't think he'd be any more than a length, because he only had to really pass 3 to get into the runner-up position. And he is a monster, like a real monster. And he got running at this lad, and Finn held him 3 lengths, and it was a comfortable 3 lengths like that. At no point in the race did it ever look like Hoodoo Brown was going to land a blow. So there was something about this run that just struck me, of whether it was the markings and the red jacket, he just looked like Ballymac Matt, and everything about him, he just has a lovely profile, a real nice profile, sort of come into the Lee Strand and even come out of the Lee Strand under the radar, just given how impressive Tulloch's surname was. Like, no one was talking about this dog coming out of it. Well, I definitely wasn't anyway. You were all eyes on surname. But this lad has just snuck under the radar, and on Saturday night, he stamped his foot down and said, I'm here, and he caught my attention.
I know. I often say it, and I generally say it about coloured dogs. I don't know what it is about them, but they always look so fluent. And there was a real fluency of movement to this Greyhound. Just everything seems so effortless. I know it's easy to say when he's popped out and made every inch of the running in a Derby heat, but it does. It just looks like a real star. Fernandez was back in third. He's a dog that when he gets loose, he's going to be a danger to any dog, but it hasn't quite happened for him to the opening corner. Dex Guinness went out. Skywalker Silla went out. That would be our last race, lads. I'll be writing that the next day or two. They're going to call it quits with Skywalker Silla. She picked up a little niggle, but it's nothing major. But she has a stop-start campaign behind her. She's so fast, so well bred that I'm sure it's very much a big future in the breeding paddocks, and they're attempting to get her to a dog called Droopy Sydney, that's right. Wouldn't mind a dog or a bitch in that litter. But no, great to see her bowing out at a high level. And hopefully she'll produce a couple of champions in the future. On to the last of the 16 heats. And here Dennis Murphy and Owen McKenna completed a double that had been initiated by Callaway Pro-Am the previous evening. Callaway Masters is just a thoroughly likable greyhound, Kevin. He's the dog. I know he's owned by Dennis Murphy, but if you had a syndicate, this is the type of dog you want. A dog that can run over a few distances, that he gives us all most nights. He's just one of those dogs. He's flying at present, but just a good all-rounder.
Yeah, no, he's like a dog that's just walking on water at the moment. His confidence is through the moon. He won a couple of races there over different distances, got his head in front, got used to it, and he just seems to be, everything is falling in his direction. Like, he's making his own look nearly at the moment. I was very impressed by the runner up here as well. Like, Connor Blue just came from real strong running sort like that. He was way out the back and showed serious gears into the third bend, and I thought the runner up ran better than the bare form would suggest. But Savannah Hero back in third, similar to Fernandez, his comrade. I think he needs to get to the front early to see his best. When he gets in behind, still does enough, but just I don't think we'll ever see a breathtaking display from those dogs off the pace. But when they get to the front early, they're a different kettle of fish. But Callaway Masters, he's probably won 4 or 5 races in his last 7 now, like, and he just is doing everything right at the moment. 29.61, I know I keep saying it, but later on in the card, it's better than a 29.61, just the bare form.
Yeah, Tommy, the first 4 homers, Droopy Sydney's.
Yeah. We've talked about this in the past. Callaway Masters was just desperately unlucky in the first round. There was a lot of money on him that occasion. I suspect they came back and came looking for their money back. He was 2s into 11. I think he was 2s most of the week in the heats, and returned 11 to 8. It was just a nice display. I did say the way you spoke about him before, introducing the heat. You kind of didn't get excited about him. It's funny. You're only trying to read into things, and it might be completely wrong. But when Owen McKenna was interviewed after the 2 heats, when Barry was talking to him, just got the impression that the Pro-Am was the dog that he really liked. Now I know the clock would suggest that too. I like this Callaway Masters though. I think he's got immense ability.
Yeah, and listen, you have 30.84 for 575 yards. You know what I mean? It's there, and it's pace and power, and that's a good combination of the greyhound. And he's certainly one you want to be avoiding in the Derby. If he's on your inside, he can run. You don't want to be picking him up anyway. If you don't want him in third, you're trying to pick him up to qualify. That's the key. That's
it. I think he stays as well as being able to do it. I know that the sectional wasn't brilliant the other night, but if he's capable of going up well and turning close, he definitely stays well. And he worked hard to try to win the heat the previous week, which you'd be impressed with too. So yeah, he's a dog that can continue to qualify, maybe, even though the heats are hot.
We have a good breakdown now. The things have changed quite some in a sense, where we have quite a few wide seeds, we have a few middle seeds, and as a result, we have we have nice heats. We have a number of heats where we have 3 insides, a middle, and 2 wides. That's what you want. We've got 8 wonderful heats to look forward to on Saturday night, Tommy. It's moving day, as we've always used to describe, like the golf analogy, the third round. This is when things really start to happen. And we are going to lose some big names. We've already lost some. Just looking through the opening heat, we'll go through them very quickly. The opening heat: Tullygraven, Explosive Boy, Droopy's next one, Bockless Crystal, Droopy's nice one, Kilgraney Clang, 6 very fast greyhounds, but no room for error.
Oh, and I would like to think that maybe, even though Explosive Boy's 347 is fine without being a rocket, I'd like to think that he was going well into the bend, and that might be enough to let him lead. Just interested, like I said a few minutes ago, to see what Tullygraven might do again this time. Time with a bit more experience. But now it's a big ask to hold Explosive Boy early, and if it doesn't, what happens to him? Because you've got Bocos Crystal who stays, Droopy's next one's a flying stayer, Droopy's nice one stays, Kilgraney's Clang stays. Like, it's a cracking heat. You'd slightly favour Explosive Boy, but you would say there's no room for error.
Yeah, this is one for the form students, Kevin. You can mull over this and come up with an angle. You could be completely wrong, but you can come up with an angle. It's just a good quality, competitive heat. This is the sort of heat you normally get for the Derby quarterfinal or semi-final, and here we are in the third round.
Yeah, very much so. And Tommy's right. Like, Explosive Boy is the obvious selection on paper. I'd imagine he'll definitely be line up favoured, but this is a race that screams to me there could be an upset. Like a nice one. We just picked flaws in her. Next one, does she get the credit for running so close to Vincenzo? Bocco's Crystal, she's a bitch, done nothing wrong. Very impressive last week. Tullygraven, if he brings his form from the opening round, it's just a race that I wouldn't like to be getting heavily invested on. And don't forget the BoyleSports offer money back if you're second. It could click here.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, there's a few heats where it could be interesting. On to the second heat where a certain Romeo Magico and Ballymacfin line up side by side in traps 1 and 2. You throw in Stephens Rock, Calico Phelps, Magical Cuba, Mustang Jet. Again, nowhere to hide. One of the standout heats, purely, the eye is drawn immediately to Romeo Magico, Ballymacfin, and to a certain extent Mustang Jet. But, this could be a hell of a race. If Ballymacfin hits the lids, it's just very interesting to see where Romeo Magico can turn in behind. He probably does want to be on the fence, but, I know it's strange to say, having done a 359 and 368 from 4 and 2 the last 2 nights, I think he does break a bit better from off the fence. Be interesting to see how he breaks on Saturday night, but he's going to have to start, because if Ballymacfin gets ahead of steam up front, he's going to be struggling to pick him up.
It's cracking. And Mustang Jet is absolutely vital. And Mustang Jet clears Magical Cuba early. You'd imagine he probably would, but that's not a stone cold certainty.
Yeah, because Cuba will run a true wide line, whereas Mustang Jet is easing in on the corner.
Yeah, like Cuba has a 41 and a 44 early section. I don't know what that equates to in at the first bend, whether he's accelerating in or he's kind of leveled off. Well,
if you look at the June 4 run, he held Park Blake into the corner. Now Park Blake, you'd expect him to be right there, banging the corner in this contest.
Like Calico Phelps isn't a danger to anybody in the early stages in terms of so Magical Cuba, even though he will be moving out anyway. It's still encouraging for a dog when there's a bit of space around him. He'd still move his wide line. Just Mustang Jet absolutely must ping. If he does, he might be able to win the heat, because Romeo Magico, I'd imagine, will be accelerating into the bend where Ballymacfin might be slightly in front of him, possibly slightly in front of him going into the turn. So it's going to be a fascinating one. Maybe close the eyes at the first bend and hopefully your dog comes around in front of you, back something.
Yeah, Kevin, what's your selection?
Yeah, selection, Calico Phelps to be last at the first bend is the only certainty in this race. I'll tell you, this race now is tricky because the other 5 of them all want to dominate. Like, I know Magico now has come from off the pace in his last couple, but that's not his style. His style is to get on the bunny. So is it Finn's, so is it Stephens Rock, so is it Cuba's, and so is it Mustang Jet. And like Tommy said, Mustang Jet's coming in. If Magico is in contention going up the inside, he's not afraid to lower the shoulder and step right. So this could get messy. Don't be surprised. I'll tell you, my selection is Calico Phelps to qualify. And I know it might sound silly in a race like that. I can just see trouble up front. He'll be out the back. If 1 goes up pace as well and 6 pace as well, there's going to be trouble in the middle here. And don't be surprised if Calico Phelps ends up turning 4th off the back straight and just qualifies. So that'd be at a big price.
On to Heat 3, we won't be going into the same depth in this one. With all due credit to the dogs that are in it, it's probably one of the weaker contests. But Barefoot Supremo, Kevin, is representing yourselves here. You'd have to expect him to make the frame, but again, he's probably better in better company, and he's going to need a little bit of room to maneuver. If he finds that, I think he's probably the one to beat. But Hanover Phantom in 1, Macho Pride, Patient Crusader, Savannah Hero, and Bullet from a Gun. There's no dog you can rule out qualifying here. No,
definitely not. I just, regardless of the outcome of the race, I just want to see him put back-to-back starts in now. I know 3:47, Tommy and yourself would say, but that's not a good start at all. But when you've been watching this that run over 25 races and you've never seen him anticipate a start, it was a big step in the right direction.
As an each way backer of him at 66-1, Kevin, trust me, I've been watching him. We'll go on to Heat 4. Hoodoo Brown, Scooby Duchess, Callaway Masters, Clone of Blue, Cushy Concord, Price's Jet on the outside will be a player, no doubt about that. Tommy, what's your initial thoughts?
Probably a good-ish opportunity for Callaway Masters to get off the front and maybe do enough. Needs to step up to win a derby, but I think it's not a bad one. Now, Price's Jet ran a cracker the other day, and I think Kevin will probably could be looking that quietly confident, thinking, you know what, we can win that heat.
Yeah, I think so. Hoodoo Brown, for once in his life, got trap 1 in Shelbourne Park. I think it's the first time it's ever happened, Kevin. Be interesting to see how he goes. He's a very tight railer.
Yeah, no, and I tell you, this isn't a race now you'd want to be, say, from a Price's Jet perspective, I want him in the first 3 off the second bend. Do you know what I mean? Like there's none of these that you'd say, well, that'll come back to you fairly quickly.
This is a heat. You don't want to be 4th down the back straight.
No, I don't. I'd say whatever's in the first 3 places out the second bend, maybe with the exception of Hoodoo Brown, but the rest of them I think will stay there. Hoodoo Brown has that X factor off the last bend. He could pick up anything. But yeah, I'm looking at it thinking, you know, if Corky got his best start, it'll be between himself and Callaway Masters, you'd imagine, to lead. And if he leads, I think I'd take third now.
Listen, I think there's 48 sets of connections. We'll take third now. On to Heat 5. Crafty Kokoro's well drawn in 1. Crypto Punk, who edged off 1, is in 2. Stories Pee-wee, Eyes of Fantastic, Born Warrior, Beach Avenue. There's no question Born Warrior will start favourite, and off a level start. You'd expect him to be about 4 clear at halfway, with perhaps the exception of Crypto Punk, and maybe Eyes of Fantastic could stay sort of relatively close. But I think Born Warrior is the one to beat, and Crafty Kokoro and Beach Avenue will be looked to coming out of the clouds, as will Stories Pee-wee. Interesting makeup, Kevin. You know, we have dogs that'll front up, dogs that'll be sort of middle of the pack, and then the likes of Kokoro, Beach Avenue, and perhaps Stories Pee-wee sort of batting it out to try and turn fourth. That could be a key.
Yeah, no, this is a race of two halves. I was speaking to a good friend of mine, Shane Divley, about this one on the way home Saturday night, and you've got arguably 3 of the fastest stayers, maybe Hoodoo Brown probably as well, but 3 of the fastest stayers left in the Derby, all in the one heat. And if you are Born Warrior, ISO Fantastic, and Crypto Punk, I don't think you have any room for any error here. Even trouble up front at all between potentially.
But let's say it's even clean. Let's say it's clean and Born Warrior goes round in front of, let's say, ISO Fantastic and Crypto Punk. Now, ISO Fantastic has run over 750 yards. I think he may have won over it, but he seems to be a sharper greyhound these days. But whatever's third down the back straight's in big trouble. Yeah.
Now the stayers will have to stay with their own way as well, because at the third bend, the reason I favour the likes of Beach Avenue is he's going to be coming on the outside. Like Kokoro's going to be coming at that third bend, and she's going to be trying to get through on the inside. The gaps must open up. Pee-wee, similar enough. Pee-wee, I think, is a little bit more versatile. He's been around. He'll pass wherever he needs to be. But this race is going to be some race to watch now, because you'll have flying starters and flying stayers. So interesting race.
Tommy, does Born Warrior win? Yes or no?
Probably, but I think Crafty Kokoro will qualify. I think the top and bottom can both qualify.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that sort of line of thought. On to Heat 6, Mary's Wedding, Callaway Pro-Am, Drubby's Rocker, Balnabola Ed, Coolavani Hoffa, All About Ted. Not a bad one, lads. Balnabola Ed and Coolavani Hoffa will obviously attract the headlines, but don't rule out a Callaway Pro-Am and Mary's Wedding, well, very drawn on the fence. This is just an absolute dinger. If Coolavani Hoffa hits the lids, it'd be very interesting to see where Balnabola Ed gets after him, Kevin.
Yeah, look, this is a Derby final, really, isn't it? Like, it really is. Will the final be better than this? You wouldn't even know. Marie's Wedding, I was blown away by her last week. She's got her box. Callaway Pro-Am, incredible early pace. I could see Hoffa being challenged into the bend here. I really could. I think the two dog, I don't think he started particularly well last week. It was when his legs hit the ground that he took off. I can't wait to watch this race. I don't think Ed can get away with a tardy start here. Really don't. I think he has to do things right at the boxes. Droopy's Rocker, if he's in front of him off the second bend, he will not be coming back to the field. Can't wait for it. Really can't. Will Hoffa moving into 5 interfere with his trapping? We know all about Ted. Will stay wide. You'd imagine off a decent start he'd clear him. I'd still tend to lean towards Hoffa just because I think he'll get the clearest runs, but I cannot wait for this race.
Yeah, I think the lanes are pretty good for Balnabola Ed and even Hoffa to an extent. I think Coolavani Hoffa, if he does anything, might just take a step right. If he does anything, he'll go up straight then. Drubby's Rocker, I think, will edge in slightly. So I think Balnabola Ed will get that chance to show his acceleration into the opening corner. Whether that's enough to see him go around second we're taking it for granted that Coolavani Hoffa leads, but there's nothing can be taken for granted at this stage. Tommy, it's just one of those special heats.
If your Marie's Weddings connections or Callaway Pro-Am or Drubby's Rocker, all about Ted, you go, God, I've got Balnabola Ed and Coolavani Hoffa, and then you look at the other thing and go, oh God, where do I get going?
Where's the weak point? Like, you know what I mean?
I've got to find my position ahead of those as well. How do I do that? Now, Balnabola Ed, potentially, Kevin's right. Balnabola Ed could be in a bit of trouble here. This wouldn't surprise me if he didn't get out of this one. Now, he's probably got until the third bend to master Drubby's Rocker. That's not to say he won't lead Drubby's Rocker. He might just pop out and be first or second around the bend. Who knows? But if he does a 368 or 358 even, and he has to find a way past Droopy's Rocker and the likes and Marie's Wedding and Callaway Prom. He's got to do it by the third bend. He's got as far as there. If he doesn't do it by there, I'm afraid he's not qualifying. That's where I'd be worried about him. But that's not to say that he won't just turn second and pick up Hoffa, but you'd have to favour Hoffa at the moment because of the professionalism of the run. Yes, he's in 5 now and he's been in 6 for the last few runs. Slight question mark. Very, very slight. Very slight. But I think you've got to favour Hoffa, and he has to be favoured.
I think he will be favoured, but he won't be an odds-on chance. I'd suggest with Ballinabole ahead, waiting there on his inside. I think it's a race where I won't be having a bet. I think I'll be watching it and savouring it, and looking forward to commentating on it. I have to look after my voice. I'm a bit hoarse this morning, lads. Oh. You may have noticed the few pints on Sunday evening didn't help, but it was a hard weekend. I think I deserved it. On to Heat 7, Oakfront Cadet, Skywalker Barry, Ballymac Run, Anna Bailey, at Lacazette, and Bacchus Budsit. Again, this is one of the weaker contests. The likes of Bacchus Budsit, I'm sure, will probably start favourite. Yeah, he should start favourite on the outside. Anna Bailey's a player. Skywalker Barry, the strong running Oakfront Cadet. Ballymac Run is flying, and at Lacazette you can never dismiss. But it's probably one there for if you're Bacchus Budsit's connections, you're more than happy with it, Tommy.
It's the bet of the round in. You couldn't buy a better makeup of a race for Bacchus Budsit. I think the last day he got a little bit of a shock that it was a dog was able to show the pace like Callaway Pro-Am to kind of come up with him into the bend after he broke well.
You think he might react to that in the sense where he might just get going earlier, and
But I also think that there's nothing in this race that's kind of got that explosive early pace. Skywalker Barry would have had it one time. I don't think there's anything else in the race that got that explosive early pace that can kind of give him that shock. It was kind of strange because Bacchus Budsit flew out the other night, and then Callaway Pro-Am kind of edged out right and showed a lovely acceleration, and it just kind of there's a small bit of a bump. Bacchus Budsit actually, I think, ran better than I initially thought to qualify in second place, but with a load of strong stairs behind. I think he'd pop out and get a clear run, and then we'll see probably a 29-30 run from him. I think he has to be the bet of the round.
It could get close enough in behind. You have a couple of dogs that be running prominently and a couple will be finishing fast. Just an interesting affair, Kevin, but Bacchus Budsit the one to beat.
Yeah, I'm with Tommy here. I think of all the heats, this lad just stands out a little bit more than the rest, maybe just as an easier selection. Now, we are taking it for granted that he's going to do that around 340 sectional. He has to. If he doesn't start here, he could be in trouble to qualify, but I'm taking it that he'll get off to his usual flying start. If he does, I'd be very disappointed if he wasn't able to see off these. You can't forget his Champion Stakes line of form as well. Like, he was so impressive in that semi-final. If he 80 or 85% of that turns up here, I think it'll be too strong. Don't rule out Anna Bailey or Ballymac Run. Like, they're not the high-profile types, but they've been
they're flying. Yeah, they're flying.
And they're doing nothing wrong. I hope at the Lacazette can qualify for it, so I can keep the T-shirt on at home for another round.
Ballymac Run and Anna Bailey both, of course, would qualify for the Juvenile Derby. On to the last of the heats, Ring a Bella Boy, Droopy's Gravy, Stories Cash Out, Vincenzo Fernandez and Gort Kelly Nestor. I feel Bacchus Budsit will be one of the few odds-on chances. A strong chance of Vincenzo will join them.
You'd expect so. Yeah, like this race again stands out to him. Gort Kelly Nestor does nothing wrong, just seems to run a big race every night. You'd imagine he'd be a reasonable good price again, but he'll be thereabouts. But if Vincenzo is going to go on and win a derby, this is the race you want to see him sort of stamp his authority. We saw what Ballinabule was able to do to Gort Kelly Nestor. Let's see if Vincenzo can do the same. I'll be cheering on Stories Cash Out to try get through in third. I think he's a young dog that I like a lot as well.
Tommy, Vincenzo, you're anti-post backer. You've made that clear. I think he'll come on for last week's run. I think we'll see him come out in front.
Kevin is 100% right. If you're going to win a derby, now you got to start sampling a little bit of authority on things. And this is sufficiently tricky a race that he can't afford to do things wrong, because he could potentially go out of the derby, but he also could show his class here. Fernandez will be moving inwards. Gort Kelly Nestor is breaking particularly well and showing a lovely touch of early pace, but he's going to stay wide. Now, Vincenzo, as Kevin talked about earlier on, is moving wide at the first bend, and that could be a little bit of a problem. If Fernandez breaks to the very best of his ability, Vincenzo can't afford to do much wrong. And that's why I'd say they'll take a chance on laying him. I think the fact that he's even remaining 14-1 in the outright book suggests to me that the bookmakers haven't been that wildly impressed with him. and he was 14-1 before last week, and he was only 16-1 before the first round. So he hasn't caught the imagination of what he's produced so far. We've talked about it before, that he's only had 2 runs since he won the Champion 550. He has better form, and hopefully, I just echo exactly what Kevin said. This is the night you have to say, look, okay, I'm actually here. Look at me over here. I'm here, lads. I'm going to be one that's going to be doing 29-20.
As one of 6 children, is that what you had to do in your youth, Tommy? Hello, I'm here. I'm here. Feed me. Throw me some scraps.
If I wanted food, eat.
Kevin, you got plenty of food as a kid, anyway, didn't you?
Yeah. No, I was well looked after. I was the first one.
I need to say, I got well looked after. Right, that's it. Eight third round heats sorted. We've every winner picked. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. It's a great derby. It really is, Kevin. There are so many twists and turns to come. I'm going to have to ask you, though, what wins it?
Yeah, I think if I was punting now, this is the round I'd be looking further down the betting. You know, like you've got Hoffa, Ed, all in the one heat. Marie's wedding. It promises to be a cracker, but it could be a car crash. And if they go out, the bottom end of that book looks drastically different. So obviously with me black and amber hat on, I'm looking at Supremo still available at 25-1.
I'd much prefer 66-1 each way, 6 places, you know.
Yeah, no. Hoodoo Brown 33s. Even Crypto Punk, who I thought ran a cracker in defeat, 50-1. I'd be looking down the book just in case a Ballinabula Ed or a Hoffa did go out in that heat of death. So look, if they were all the same price, what dog do I think is the best chance of winning it? How could you not really say Hoffa? You know, he's starting, he's flying down the back and he's staying out the trip well. You made the comment he looked like Loggle Blake or had a similar profile. You're not too wrong with that one. So yeah, he's the most likely, but if I was punting this week, I'm definitely looking for value.
Tommy?
You can't mention Crypto Punk there. you tried to upset me.
Yeah.
Go on.
I get 4-1 in the Northern Heat and I get beaten.
Yeah.
I don't know, Ian. I mean, as I said last week, getting Ballinabula Ed in the book was probably the right thing to do, and it still is, even though you've got a really tricky heat next week. And I think if you look along the line, you might get a bit of 6 or 7-1 about Coulivanny Hoffa. It's probably worth putting that in the book now. Even though you're short in your overall, you know what I mean, payouts, your percentage payout, but I'd still think he was that professional, and I think, you know, whichever comes out on top in that heat next weekend has got to harden quite considerably, because that is if Ballinabula Ed finds a way to beat Coulivanny Hoffa, he goes into 9-4ish. If he finds a way, he really does. That's the way it has to be. I think at this stage. Whereas if Coulivanny Hoffa does it, he won't necessarily go 9-4, but he'll shorten up, because people will still think, oh yeah, he has to do it early or else he's in trouble. Whereas Ballinabula Ed can do it from off the pace or whatever else. So I think if you have Ballinabula Ed in the book from 10 or 12-1 from last weekend, I think there's an okay. If you look along the line, you might get 13-2, 6-1, something like that about Hoffa, and have something small just to keep the interest alive.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you, gentlemen. As always, the Exile Dub,
Tommy Lyons. What are you picking?
Well, I'm on Hoffa a long time, so I'm not moving off that. I'm going to go for the Barefoot Supremo value as well. Okay. So, you know, I'm just trying to keep my guests sweet. Keep myself sweet as well, that'll be said. Go ahead, Tommy.
I think you'll have two, touch wood, at least 2 qualifiers anyway. Touch wood.
Yeah, touch wood. Gentlemen, my pleasure as always. Thank you so much indeed for all your help this morning. Just let you know, folks, we are still taking bookings for the preview, the Talking Dogs Roadshow. We will be on the road to Shelbourne Park, because on September 23rd, ahead of racing, and that night, of course, will feature the opening round of the Juvenile Derby. It should be an unbelievable night's racing on the eve of the Derby. You can still be there to hear myself, the Exile Dub, JK, and a few others. You never know. Young Kev might even make an appearance. We haven't told him up to this point, but you never know. We'll need someone to fill the air, and God knows he can talk. That's a bit rich coming from me. But listen, you can still apply for your tickets. We will be announced, or we have, I believe, by the time you're watching this, have announced the first 10 ticket winners. Congratulations to them. We'll see you on the 23rd of September. But that's it from us now on this Monday evening. Very best of luck to everyone with the runners still in the Derby. The round of 48, the third round, moving day, as they say, the first time all the Greyhounds remaining in the Derby will be in action on the one night. What did we say, Kevin? We'll definitely see the Derby winner on Saturday night. And that is true. Good luck. God bless. We'll see you next time.